Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, a big one. One, if church leaders have the responsibility to, to equip the believers for the work of ministry, and so they have a very important job of clearly identifying what Scripture says about issues related to the culture, issues related to the proclamation of the gospel, issues related to the family, issues. I mean, you name it. The Bible has a lot to say about it, and so they have a very big responsibility, not only in providing you with the knowledge and the education, but also the discipleship. Hey, this is good, this is not good, this is what good looks like, go here no further. And we have a responsibility to be submitted to their leadership. I remember early on when I started going out to abortion mills, for example. Before I ever did, I went in and had a conversation with my pastors and said, "This is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to videotape what I do for two reasons: one, for my own personal safety, and two, for you or anyone in my elders to look at and examine what I'm doing, and if there's something you see that needs correction, that you would provide it." So they have a very important role in that process of training up, educating, encouraging, equipping young men, in particular, but leaders there in local churches, as a process of engaging culture. They also have a prophetic voice. When they see something, and I'll give you the example of John MacArthur. MacArthur dealing with Gavin Newsom, whether it was his church was going to be shut down due to COVID, or whether it's the issue of abortion, and Pastor John writing a letter and being a prophetic voice in and to the culture. I think they have a responsibility as leaders to do that, if they are indeed writers, and have a platform to write blog articles, taking sermons, and then re-examining them, and perhaps even reusing them as a bold prophetic voice to the culture. Podcast opportunities like these, to come and share the truth, so that more people can actually hear that truth declared in a way that's God honoring. All of those things are examples in which those kinds of things can happen.
I love it. I love it. So that gets me to my first action item question. Then, if I'm attending a church and my pastor isn't doing many of those things, what? How can I approach him? How should I approach him? How can I encourage him to engage
Yeah.
the culture more boldly than he maybe
Yeah.
does?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question, because I think two things. One, not only that you do it, but the manner in which you do it are both important. And again, I use myself as an example only because I don't know anybody else's example. And so, not that I'm the perfect example, but just, one of the ways I did that was just to sit down and have lunch, or coffee, and just tell my pastor, hey, my heart's been moved to go in this direction, and very specifically, I was doing street evangelism, and abortion mill ministry, and I just said, this is my heart. I know that's not something that's happening at the church. I wish it would. But I'm not demanding of you that you make that happen. What I'm asking is, as I go out, would you be a source of prayer? Would you be a resource who looks at what I'm doing and examines it in light of Scripture? And when the opportunities present themselves for others to join me in that, would you be an encouraging spokesperson for that? And most of the time, they agreed to that because it didn't put any onus on them. What happens over time is many of them became curious, like, wow, like, he's out there, people are joining him, more people are joining him. And I always let them know, the invitation for you to come for a brief period, pastor, is always open. And most of the time, the vast majority of the time, they would end up joining me. And I didn't make it a big fanfare or anything like that, but that process, that process allowed their hearts, their thoughts, their disposition to change. It gave room for God to do whatever He was going to do with their heart about the issue, so that they could be won over, rather than made to feel like you're doing nothing and you need to do something, and and all of the things that many very excitable people who come into these kinds of ministries end up doing to turn pastors off.